and we're just so hi everybody, welcome. I'm Annie and I work for the Welland Public Library. So tonight we have Melissa here. She's a social worker with the Welland McMaster Health team since 2012, where she provides mental health counseling and workshops. She is a certified forest therapy guide and leads monthly walks on local trails from April to November. Noting that many health and mental health benefits of time in nature. Melissa lives with her husband and son and 2 dogs. And so Melissa is going to be presenting about feeling sad, and that's discussing seasonal affective disorder. So I will turn it over to Melissa and she'll take it from here.
Thank you so much, Annie, for that introduction. And yes, so this topic is on, I really hope you're not hearing my dogs in the background right now. So sorry. It's about seasonal affective disorder. And we couldn't pick really a better month to be talking about this in February, when we have quite a lot of that reduced sunlight on our lives and how that can impact us. I'm speaking about it as a social worker. Like she said, I work at the family health team here in Welland, but I'm also speaking about it as someone who has seasonal affective disorder. So I definitely know about this from my own personal experience of how my mood and my energy levels shift with seasons. So there might be things that you notice in yourself as well. I welcome you, like as I'm speaking, if there's a question or a comment that you want to make, to throw it in the chat. And it can be more informal that way, that I'm happy to be interrupted. And you know, if there's a comment that you want to make or something that you're resonating with or a question that you have, feel free to jump in with that and Annie will pass it on to me, I believe, right? Good. Okay, so screen sharing here and hopefully, okay. Is that going to work that way? Okay, excellent. So what is seasonal affective disorder? So it's a type of depression that's related to the changing of the seasons. So for most people, it is a winter seasonal affective disorder, meaning that you will notice a shift in your mood, your energy levels, your fatigue level as the days are getting shorter. So in the fall months, you might notice it, and it gets worse in the winter. And then your symptoms start getting a bit better in the spring. There's also, it's more rare, but there are also people who have summer related seasonal affective disorders. So that sometimes those long hot days of summer can have an impact on your mood as well. So for some people, it might be that you notice your mood dropping as spring arrives. And gets worse as summer is here, and then better in the fall. So it can be different, but the majority of us, you're noticing that drop as sunlight is becoming less. So I just, for some questions to kind of reflect on yourself, of, you know, questions to ask yourself of if this applies to you or not. So I should show you, there's a wonderful little workbook called Winter Blues Survival Guide that the library has, at least in St. Catharines. You probably have it in Welland as well. And I can maybe give this as a resource at the end too, if Annie wants with it, but it's Winter Blues Survival Guide, a workbook for overcoming SAD, seasonal affective disorder. So questions to ask yourself, and sort of think about yourself over the past several years, because part of it you start to realize maybe after a few years of like, oh, why is it that I start to feel this every fall or every winter? So how often have you reacted to changes in the amount and intensity of sunlight? So 1, I get sleepy and cranky when I've had to get up in the dark, go to work, and come home in the dark. I feel better taking a walk in the snow on sunny days, even though the sunniest days are often the coldest where I live. I have no problem with a day or 2 of rain, but if it lasts for a week, I start to feel down, and it's not because I'm bored. I don't even want to go out. I don't like cozy, dimly lit restaurants in winter. I've changed jobs because my workspace was dark and there's no relief in the rest of the office. So I know for myself, I noted if I worked at a place where my office didn't have a window, that would affect me, right? So maybe you notice at work, how much light do you get at where you work or where you spend a lot of your time at home? How much sunlight is getting in? And does it affect your mood? I love the feel of the summer sun on my skin, but when I'm outdoors on the brightest days, I try to keep my back to the sun or I start to feel agitated and scattered. So this might be more the summer related sad. I love to be surrounded by color, but I repainted the room I spend most of my time in white because the darker walls depress me. So you might notice like, yeah, if what color your walls are, does that impact your mood as well? All right. And why does it not want me to? There we go. So, prevalence of seasonal affective disorder. So, how common is this? So, 2 to 3% of Canadian population has this. It is more common in women than in men. It is something that you outgrow. Like it's usually within, I think they said women in their 30s are sort of the most, there it is, most common, but you do tend to grow out of it as you get into your 50s and 60s. So that's kind of a hopeful thing. It's more common in people who live far from the equator. So, hello, that's us. Even though in Niagara we're, called the Caribbean of Canada, sometimes we are still very far from the equator. It's more common in those who have a close relative with that also has seasonal affective disorder. Or if you have a family history of others in your family who have depression, that's something to be aware of. Usually occurs in people 15 to 55, most common in your 30s. And there it is. Yeah, risk of getting it decreases as we age. All right. So, what are the causes? And of course, like a specific cause is unknown, but we are finding what is it about the reduced amount of sunlight? How does that impact us? So one is that it disrupts our biological clock, or it's called our circadian rhythms, right, in our bodies. That gets disrupted with less sunlight. And when that body disruption happens, it can lead to feelings of depression. So that's one way that it impacts us. Also, serotonin levels, they take a drop. So with less sunlight, it can cause a drop in serotonin, and that is a brain chemical that helps us feel better. It's like a mood booster. It also helps with appetite and with sleep. And when there's less sun, it can cause that drop in serotonin. And then also our melatonin levels. So a reduction in sunlight disrupts the balance of the body's level of melatonin, which a lot of us know that impacts our sleep quite a lot and our mood. So that's kind of part of the, what's happening there. So signs and symptoms. Let's see here. Symptoms of depression, signs and symptoms of depression. So that's you're feeling depressed for most of the day, for almost every day, for over 2 or 3 weeks. Losing interest in activities that you used to enjoy. So things that maybe, I used to really enjoy doing this thing and now I don't even care to do it anymore. Your energy is lowered. There can be problems with sleep that go either direction. It can be sleeping too much or not sleeping enough. And then we might know changes in appetite. You might notice changes in your own appetite where you're having a weight loss or a weight gain. And also just feeling sluggish or agitated. There was an interesting study done of people with seasonal affective disorder also craving carbs. And when they would eat the kind of the bad carbs, I'm not very good with what all that entails, but when you have those pure sugars and starches, that they would actually, if you have seasonal affective disorder, a large group of those people would have a spike in your energy after eating those carbs. And then, of course, a drop afterward. But people who don't have seasonal affective disorder, if they ate the same carbs, wouldn't get that little boost in the serotonin level and that energy level. So that was an interesting finding recently as well. All right, signs and symptoms continued. So also difficulty concentrating. There can be trouble with memory, motivation as well, feelings of hopelessness, worthlessness, guilt, and it can even go to the point of thinking about dying or suicide, right? If depression is getting to that level. All right. So season specific symptoms, and let me know if you have any questions along the way here as well. So the winter seasonal affective disorder, sometimes we want to like write it off as, oh, we all just want to hibernate in the winter, right? I just want to sleep and sleep and sleep. But that kind of oversleeping, often leads to further diminished mood. So it can have like a cyclical effect, right? So oversleeping, they call it weight gain, low energy. And if you have the spring, summertime seasonal affective disorder, then you might have more insomnia, poor appetite, weight loss, agitation, almost sometimes like too much energy at times. You can't sleep properly. It's a risk factor if you have bipolar disorder as well, because then you're already sensitive to those changes and changes in your circadian rhythms. And then here they say, yeah, summertime could be more at risk for hypomania or mania, and then the depression coming in winter. So if you know you're dealing with bipolar disorder, then you're looking for that as well. All right. Complications of having this. So as with other types of depression, if left untreated, it can lead to social withdrawal, school or work issues, substance abuse. Like sometimes you find that I'm just reaching for that glass of wine, or I just want whatever substance, right, to kind of alleviate these feelings. So you might notice that increases for you. Other mental health issues can get worse, like anxiety and that type of thing, or suicidal thoughts can increase as well. All right. So how to have a diagnosis? So you're looking for a pattern. This is what I mentioned before. So you may not notice it right away, but after a number of years to start tuning into, do your symptoms get worse at a certain time of year? 2 or more seasons where you've struggled with depression. Getting a physical exam is really important. Like see your family doctor, get blood work done, because there can also be a part of if you have a low level of vitamin D, that's something that can be addressed that can help seasonal affective disorder as well. And then a psychological evaluation, like if you're struggling with depression, right, go and see someone for that as well. And I like this little meme here. It's as if my mood turns gray at the same time as the sky. I definitely relate to that. Like come October, when it starts getting a little bit darker, I can sense, oh, here goes my mood, right? And that's a wake-up call to start doing what I can to address that. All right. Treatments. Light. This is all almost kind of obvious, right? But it is so much about increasing the light wherever you can. And you've probably heard like what the very first line of treatment is light therapy boxes, which I have mine here, which I'll show you later. I have my little tips and tricks here to show you later. But light therapy is definitely kind of the first line to increase. Medication can help as well. Talk to your doctor about, and counseling, which of course I'm a proponent of, that can be very helpful in treating this as well. So I'm going to read sort of the 5 principles of treating seasonal affective disorder. So one is plan ahead. Like as you start to notice your own pattern, it's important that you kind of catch it early instead of waiting until you're feeling your worst. It's good to start being able to plan ahead and catch it early. So that's the first thing. The second thing is start the treatment early. And then the third is always begin with the easiest one first. Because when we're struggling, especially, and if winter is a hard season already, it's very hard to push yourself to do like the really hard things that will help your mood. You want to start with the easiest thing to start with, right? And then after you've started with the easiest one, then you add treatments to that. And we'll talk more about that as we go forward. And so for me, and a lot of what's recommended is start with increasing your light. And let's see if we go right to that. Yes. So light therapy or phototherapy. And so these light therapy boxes, and I'll show you mine right now. Mine is very old. I got this years and years ago. This is what mine looks like. Some of them are much bigger. But this, and it mimics what the sun does to our eyes, right? And when we have dark days, like today was an overcast day, it would have been hard to get sunlight today, and a day like this afternoon was anyway where I am. This does kind of the same thing, and it does not. Some people think, oh, can that hurt your eyes? It's made in a way that does not hurt your eyes. So I'll turn the power on here just to show you. I don't know how well that will show, but it kind of beams a light like this. And you can change the intensity, and they recommend like 20 minutes to 45 minutes in front of your light box. And how to make it easy, like how to incorporate it into your morning routine really is a good way of doing it. So for me, in the morning, as I'm having my tea or coffee or having breakfast, just to shine that on your eyes. And the light does need to enter your eyes. You can't close your eyes while you're doing. Some people think, oh, maybe I'll start the day like I'm still sleeping and have it shine on me. No, your eyes have to be open so the light can actually stimulate your retina in the same way that the sun does. So, and you'll follow the directions if you do decide to go this route, for how far to have it from your face and what level of illumination to put it at. And they're saying here, best done as soon after you wake up. All right. One drawback is that these boxes, I'm not sure what they're going for, but they can be a bit pricey. Like that's the downfall of the light therapy box. It could be $100, $200, something like that, I think is, but again, I'm out of touch now for what they're going for now, but something that you can get, I think, at Shoppers Drug Mart, Walmart, I'm sure Amazon, any place like that, or you might want to talk to your doctor about it too. Side effects, and I would say like this is quite rare to have side effects. Like this is what's kind of really nice about light therapy is that there are so little side effects, if any, but they are listing them here. Like you could have eye strain, headache, nausea, irritability, agitation, or mania. So that would be if you have bipolar disorder, to be watchful of that. It's not a cure, but it can help ease symptoms and increase energy and help you feel better about life and about yourself. And if it's going to work, you'll notice it really soon, like a few weeks into trying it, you'll notice that if it's helping you or not. All right. Okay, so moving on to medication as another treatment option. So this is, again, something to talk with your family doctor about, and to, again, the importance of starting earlier rather than later. So start prior to when symptoms would typically begin. And your doctor may recommend that you stay on them beyond when the symptoms go away, right? Yeah. Any questions so far?
I don't think I see any questions.
Okay, great.
But I just wanted to mention that both our Seaway Mall branch and the main branch do have a therapy lamp. So you can come and sit when you'd like to, and they're kind of a chair around them. So it's nice.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I've heard about, I don't know if this is true, but that you could also, from the library system, I'm in St. Catharines, but you could check out a light therapy box. Is that right?
I think some of the libraries have. I think they're just looking into what kind of insurance wise, what.
Yes, okay.
If they weren't used properly. I think that is
Right.
something they're investigating though. So yeah, I can let everybody know that signed up if we decide to go
Yeah.
with that. Or somebody else said if you're 65 or older, or know someone who is, you can get a seniors discount 20% at Shoppers for a
Oh,
therapy lamp. So
oh,
yeah,
fantastic.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
nice.
didn't know that you have the light therapy box at the Welland Library. That's fantastic.
I think some people just think they're reading lamps actually, but
Okay.
there's a little notice on the table beside them that tells what they do and how long you should sit there.
Yes.
So yeah, they've had them
Oh,
for about a
that's really
year
cool.
to use in the library so far. Yeah, so
Very cool. Awesome. All right. So, next treatment, of course, counseling, right? Which is often used for depression. Cognitive behavioral therapy is sort of the first line of treatment for depression and anxiety. And that's a lot around looking at what kind of thinking patterns have you fallen into? How does it lead to what you feel? How does it lead to what you do? Right. And so certain actions can actually fuel even further depression and anxiety. So a lot of times you talk about you don't wait until you feel like whatever it might be, like whether it's getting outside for a walk or using your light box or eating well or socializing. Don't wait until you feel like it. It's this hard thing of like forcing yourself to do the action first. Actions before feelings is one of their mantras. So how do you put the action in place that you know will help boost your mood, even when you're not feeling like doing that thing? And that can be really hard. So again, that's why I talk about the importance of starting with what's easiest action wise. And it might be just the simplicity of sitting in front of that light, or maybe it's forcing yourself to get up and go for a bit of a walk especially when the sun is out, right? So I'm talking about this light box mimicking the sun, but what's even better, of course, I'm always talking to people about get outside, right, as much as possible, to get the effects of the natural sunlight on your eyes. And even on a cloudy day, you are still getting benefits of being outdoors and what nature can do to help alleviate some of those symptoms as well. So, all right, learning healthy coping and how to manage stress. Exactly. Good stuff. Mind body connection. So these are other like strategies to put into place. I think I might be wanting to cancel on something here, focus on something before I jump to that. Oh no, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so finding ways that help to relax you. So it's going to be different for everyone, but they give some ideas here: yoga, tai chi, learning meditation, mindfulness, music, art, whatever helps you to kind of get into that state of flow, some people call it, or where you're not in that ruminative thinking brain, but you're in the moment. So finding ways that I love leading these forest therapy walks that Andy mentioned, and that is often a chance where people can experience, after a few invitations in a forest, you finally learn to get a break from that thinking and just be present to what are you hearing, what are you seeing, what are you smelling. And being out in nature is kind of a beautiful spot to do that, because there's rich stimuli usually coming at us, right? Like from what does the wind feel like? What birds am I hearing? What color is the sky? Just a tiny little break like that. And it doesn't have to be, half an hour, 20 minutes. It can just be one moment of taking in what does the air feel like? And that's just getting a little bit of a break from the brain, because the brain can be quite a source of negative thinking, depressive thinking, that kind of thing. So to get a break from that is really important. So these are great ideas of how to do that as well. Lifestyle modifications. So this is about kind of going around, and like I would even encourage you to especially like in the days, it's already dark already now, but like in the daytime tomorrow, go and tour your home, and your workplace too, if you're at work, like to go to each of your rooms and just take notice of where is light coming in? How much light do I have in this room? Especially the rooms that you spend a lot of time in. How much natural light is there? How much artificial light is in those rooms? And just take notice of that. So they're saying, try to make your home and work environment brighter. Sit near windows, open the blinds. I have a whole list here of different ways to brighten your home or to increase light in your home. Actually, I'm going to just go to that since that's what we're focused on right now for 1 second. Where is this one? 139. Some things, you know, you may not think of. Some it's like also notice if you have windows, like what is there anything blocking sunlight from coming into your house? So sometimes people have had to trim some trees or trim some bushes if they're blocking the light. So I'm just going to read off. These are just some ideas, ways to brighten your home. And they're saying in this workbook, it's yes, what we can for natural light, but even boosting artificial light in your rooms will also help if you're someone who is affected by light and by the season change. So add a tabletop and floor lamps where you can. Add ceiling fixtures or wall sconces. Up the wattage in the light bulbs, whatever is safe, of course, fire safety wise, but increase the wattage. Move lamps to shine on your face where you usually spend your time in that room. Add light boxes to every room. Cut skylights and ceilings. Okay, that's pretty big. I don't know if I'd want to take that on, but yes, skylights can help a lot. Install sun pipes. This is a different way that's a bit less intrusive than putting a skylight in, but lets in a lot of natural light. Move furniture so that you're facing bright windows when sitting in the room. I often notice people have a sofa up against a window. And I think, oh, if you're sitting on that sofa or love seat, then you're facing away from the window, right? So for me, I've always made sure that when I notice where light is coming in, make my seating so that it's facing that light, so that you're getting it on your face, something that some of us, you don't think of, right? Remove curtains from windows to let in maximum light, or replace opaque shades or dark shades with something that lets in a little more, or like more translucent shades. That can be helpful. Instead of, oh, I think this is pretty similar. Yeah. Instead of heavy window treatments, use a more translucent one. Paint the walls of your home white, yellow, or ivory rather than dark colors. Avoid dark paneling or wallpaper. So I've fallen prey to this one. Like I like colorful, walls at times in, different apartments I've lived in or homes. Like I want to go darker colors for, artistic reasons or whatever. But then I have always noticed it is just too dark. Right. And so I'm sensitive to that. So I have learned to keep the walls really, really light. I have a very light gray and most of mine are white. And then if I want that color, have a splashy painting, right? And then here, this was a new one for me. They're saying hang paintings that contain big splashes of yellow or orange. This mimics the sun, right? The sun colors that we are drawn to and that we're made for. I wouldn't have thought of that. So I'm going to start looking at the paintings in my home a little bit differently. Say, okay, how much yellow is in there? How much orange to help boost my mood as well? Make creative use of picture lights to focus spots of light on those bright paintings, or even to bright up a darker painting that you love, or shine light on a bright plant or other decorative object. Replace large, dark pieces of furniture with something light or bright. A white leather sofa, not if you have dogs, instead of brown, yellow, or beige upholstery, instead of dark patterns, light colored woods. So this is interesting, even to look at what color is your furniture, and is it dark? Is there a dark wood to it? And that can also, have add to darkness in your room, into the rooms that you have. So I thought those are some. Oh, that's only 15. There's more. So if replacement or reupholstering isn't affordable, add light, bright throws and pillows, or use bright slip covers. Hang mirrors, which can reflect light. Like if you have light coming in a window, have a mirror there that will help bounce that light around. That's a great idea. Wash windows regularly. Grimy windows obscure a lot of incoming light. Paint or carpet your darkest rooms in white or other light colors, and light candles at night to add soft light. And don't hesitate to treat yourself to evenings curled up before the fire if you have a fireplace. So yeah, just some ideas that how can you bring that lightness and warmth to the different rooms that you're in. All right. And so, right, I mentioned before, getting outside, even on a cloudy day, especially in the morning if you can, that can absolutely help you to feel better and to beat some of those symptoms of SAD. Exercise regularly. We all know this one, right? It's like we know it, but it can be like very few people actually feel like getting out there and exercising. So it's one of those two of like, how do I force myself to do it, right? Even for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, because I know this will help boost my mood later. Yes, helps relieve stress and helps you feel better about yourself, for sure. And even the getting outside, like I would say in the winter too, I know it can be hard. Like I'm a very outdoors kind of person. I love being in nature, but it's hard, even for me. And if it's icy, if it's really cold, like all these things that can be barriers for us, right? And so some of my another tip that I have of getting out in winter, of course, dressing appropriately, but these little babies right here, you guys know what these are? Love these. They're spikes or grip-ons are called. You can get these again, Walmart. I just replaced my old ones because the spikes were getting worn down. I was slipping again, but Canadian Tire has these on sale right now. Best $15 I've ever spent. So it just slips on top of your boot, any size shoe or boot. And then it has these wonderful spikes. So it makes getting outside so much easier, especially if it's icy, right? Or a little bit slippery. And for me, I like to be in nature. So a lot of trails in the winter can be very stressful because of the ice on the trails. I put these on and I can still hike. I can hike all year round, and that helps so much. So yeah, I would highly recommend, I think they're called grip-ons. All right. Alternative medications. So these would be ones that are not monitored by the FDA or Health Canada, and you can't always be sure what you're getting in a product that's not regulated. So they're saying always consult a pharmacist or your doctor before starting any natural remedy, as it can cause a harmful interaction with other medications that you're taking. Natural doesn't always mean safer or better. So be sure you know what you're taking and if there's any interactions with other medication. All right, coping and support. So stick to a routine and a treatment plan that you helped create. This is important. Like it can't be what other people, set out for you, or this is what you should do. It's so much more effective when it's your own creating your schedule, your self-care activities, your stress reliever methods. It has to be sort of you at the helm because you know what works best for you. Take good care of yourself, be mindful of sleep, exercise, eating healthy meal choices, avoiding alcohol and drugs for relief of symptoms. And they say, if possible, take a trip someplace warm and sunny. That's definitely, hard to do. This must have been made before COVID for sure. But also, I would say, not just the warm and sunny places, but also the cold and sunny places. So some people might go out west where it's a little bit sunnier, a lot colder, yes, but sunnier, right? And maybe doing skiing or something outdoors where even, and we're lucky now with the snow, like the light that reflects off of snow has a really good impact on us as well. So sunny, sun off of snow. This past weekend was beautiful for kind of leaning into winter and enjoying the beauty that is only in winter too. So I think that's it for that piece. And Tips for February. Yes, let me just see what's coming up here. Any questions? Yes, I have another little tip sheet from this workbook, and kind of hopefully being kind to ourselves. Like I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it's just easy. Just do this A, B, and C, and you'll be fine. It's not easy, right? And dealing with seasonal affective disorder can be really, really hard. Um, Winters can feel really, really difficult, right? Especially if you're dealing with this. So they have a little tip sheet for certain months, and these are the tips that they have for February. And how can we prepare for and deal with February? So the first one they say is seek the light relentlessly. Get outside in the sun, especially when there's snow, to reflect the sunlight. Or if it's too cold, take a drive. Spend indoor time in the brightest room that you have access to. Use your dawn simulator and light box every day. Yeah, I didn't mention these dawn simulator alarm clocks you can get, right? That like light your room up in the same way that a morning sunrise does. And that can really help if you're having trouble getting out of bed. I don't have one of those, but I've been curious about those. I think that's a brilliant idea. That's much nicer than an alarm clock blaring in your ear, right? If it were the sun coming up, that would be beautiful. Cut back on chores and other drudgery and replace them with scheduled pleasant events. This kind of speaks to, I think, like being more compassionate to ourselves as well. Like instead of this idea of, okay, I just have to muscle through and still do all my things. This is a bit of a softer approach, which I think is important for us too. Of if you know that the winter months are harder for you, or summer months, if you have summer sad, um, try to lessen some of the, like they're calling it drudgery or chores, or don't schedule certain things that you know are really difficult for you in those months that are your hardest months. Give yourself a little bit of a break, or a soft approach to yourself in those months if you can, right? To take things maybe out of your schedule if you know it's the months that you struggle the most. Increase or at least maintain your exercise routine. Yeah, I mean, exercise is a kind of a natural antidepressant, right? As hard as it is to kind of make ourselves get out there, sometimes we know it works. It works better than counseling usually, and better than medications and sometimes, right? So like exercise, if you can get yourself to do it, that is definitely um it's going to help you so much. And also though, start with what you enjoy doing. So if you don't like, for me, I'll never like want to go to the gym. Like that's not what I want to do. Like don't make it harder for yourself by picking something active wise that you really don't enjoy. Like what is kind of the closest thing that you could. So for me, hiking, right? I love being in nature. So that's decent exercise too. So that's an easier one for me to start with versus go to the gym for an hour. Like, ugh, no, I don't want to. So do things that make it easier for you to do it. Consider medication without if winter is getting to you without them, or talk to your doctor about changing your medications if they're not sufficient, right? Buy new house plants or forced balms, which will remind you that spring is around the corner when they bloom, especially. Practice acceptance of winter and of the need to hibernate. Meditate or use positive imagery of springtime, which always arrives. So this is also kind of reminding us, like holding on to hope, and that we know this season, this too shall pass. This February will eventually pass. Slowly and surely, the days are getting longer, and sometimes it's helpful to remind yourself that spring always comes. And by the end of this month, I saw someone posting like at the end of February, the sun sets at 6:12. At the end of March, it sets at 7. I mean, it was just hope. It kind of feeds some hope of like, oh yes, we already are having longer days. So holding on to that as well. I think my last kind of summary here, and then I want to hear from anyone who wants to share what they know about for themselves with seasonal affective disorder, what drew you to come out, and if there's anything else you want to, find out about or comment on, I'm happy to continue that conversation too. So summary is more light, right, is the first line of action. How can you get more light into your life? This is the most effective and most important treatment for most people with seasonal affective disorder. I can't remember if I said, but they have the number between 60 and 80% of people with SAD benefit from light therapy. So that's a really good percentage. So definitely start there. So light therapy using a light box, adding light to your environment through clean windows, extra artificial lighting at home and at work, and even bright decor, and vacations in sunny locales to break up the winter if you're able to do that. Next line of attack, stress management. What can you do to lower your stress? Cut back on obligations and manage time well during this season. Add pleasant activities to your life. Pursue exercise, especially outdoors in sunlight. Manage diet to avoid weight gain caused by carbohydrate cravings. Practice meditation and relaxation, and get help and support from friends, family, and coworkers. And then the third line of attack is medication, which can also be very helpful. And there's some people have certain fears around medication, or there are so many myths about medications with antidepressants. And so just a few of those are it's not addictive. Antidepressants are not habit forming. It doesn't change your personality. Some people are fearful, like, oh, is this going to change who I am? I don't want a different personality. It doesn't do that at all. They've come a long way, and they're quite mild side effects now of antidepressants. And I sort of explain it as it doesn't change you. It helps you. Hopefully, if find one that works for you, it will help you feel more like yourself and able to handle what life is throwing at you in that time. And also, I have a lot of people who think, oh, I'm going to be on it the rest of my life, and I don't want to be on. And that's another thing that is not necessarily true at all. It can be for a season, that you might be on medication, and to see it as another tool in your toolbox if you're struggling with depression in any form. So it can be for half a year, it can be for a few years. It doesn't have to have the idea that you're on it for the rest of your life. But again, that's something to discuss with your doctor as well. And I think that's it for me. Yeah, is there anything that anyone else wants to add, or questions or comments, or what you know for yourself in this season?
Any questions, any comments? I really like, Melissa, your idea of the hiking. I think that's really, I tend to get my little sad time just after Christmas, and it kind of goes from here to here. And
Yeah.
especially with COVID, I think you weren't able to get out as much or be with friends. So about a year ago, just New Year's Day, my daughter and I went out, let's just go for a walk somewhere. And we ended up going over to the short hills, and we hiked for about half an hour, almost killed us the first time, but it was amazing. We just kind of kept it up after that and got a few more friends to come. And now it's kind of like a weekly thing for us. And not only does it help, but it also, you see what beautiful, beautiful parks and conservation areas that we have in our region that we never knew existed. So it's a winner all around just to try and do something like that.
That's beautiful. And you're so right. Like Short Hills is one of my favorite spots to go. Short Hills, Rockway is gorgeous, the conservation area there. The gorge, of course. And you make a really good point that I should have mentioned too, is to find people to do the activity with you so that it hits both of those things of socializing, being out. It's actually hitting three things: socializing with people, being outside, and moving your body, exercising. That's a fantastic, mood booster for sure.
It's great. Yeah.
And I think, look, if you're struggling a lot with mood, you have to keep reminding yourself you may not feel like, or you probably won't feel like doing these things. It's like, it's nice if you can have someone that you're accountable to say, okay, even though I don't feel like going for that walk, so and so is expecting me. I don't want to cancel. I'm going to show up. And it just helps you get over that hump of that moment of low motivation to get there. And then 9 times out of 10 afterward, you'll be glad you did it, right? You'll feel better afterward, but it's the forcing yourself to do it. But yeah, there's so many beautiful spots in our area and different waterfalls that are just gorgeous in the
Oh,
winter.
yeah, the waterfalls are spectacular. And I
Yeah.
think within the Short Hills alone, there's 12 of them. And we
Yes.
kind of continued this through the winter, and now you see them frozen. And you can get the little picks for your shoes that you showed on Amazon for like, I think $14. And they're
Awesome.
great. They really, really help you not
Yeah.
fall or feel like
They
you're going to
are
fall.
They are
So
just game
easy to put
changers.
on.
Like, yeah, these spikes are absolute game changer for me. It's sort of my big, whenever I'm talking as the forest therapy guide part of me for different workshops, I'm always showing them as this is the thing that, especially for us in Ontario, everyone should just have these. Like, yeah, because
Yeah.
it is a real hindrance if you're worried about falling. I mean, that doesn't make it enjoyable at all, right?
So
And
you
you put
see a
your
lot of
chin
people
up.
out there as well. Like you see the people with the hiking poles, to try and
Yes.
balance. And so we actually went up to Killarney, 4 of us, and we thought, oh, let's just take some hiking poles. But the library does have hiking poles you can check out for a week. So if you want to try them out, they're here. And if you're feeling like a little tippy or the ground's not even, they really do help with that. So those are available for everyone
Oh,
as well.
very cool. Wow, that is so neat.
Mhm.
Brilliant. Maybe you guys should have spikes for people to try
I'm
out
just
too.
thinking that, yeah.
No, but I love that you have hiking poles there too. That's just brilliant. Yeah, for people to try it out before making a
A
commitment to get it
commitment.
for themselves, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Any stories or anything? Comments?
Another thing that I just should point out. So once I started noticing my own pattern with it, then now you have to be on top of it, right? So for me, October, I have to remember because I don't necessarily feel bad in October. I'm still getting a lot of sun, everything's going okay, but I still have to start that light box, and it's so easy to forget because you're feeling okay, right? So my husband just had a great idea. I'm not a very phone tech person, but he's like, people could put an alert in your phone for the month that is kind of the beginning of your seasonal. So for me, if it's October, put an alert in your phone to give you that heads up. Hey, guess what? It's October. You may not be aware of it yet, but the light's getting less. Get your light box out. Find where it is, first of all. And start using it, right? Because it's so easy to forget, and then you sort of have waited too long, right? Before you've maybe then depression can take too strong of a hold. But yeah, it's a good thing.
So I think everybody too, Melissa has her dates now for the forest walks. So they start in April. So the
That's right.
library is going to put them in our program guide as well. And then I believe you'll register with Melissa. She'll take all your information and then give you the locations.
Yeah, that
So
sounds
there's
good.
3 different locations, Short Hills, Welland, Fenwick, I guess, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Different months we held them in different spots. And yeah, I would love to see people come out. It's open to the community. It's free of charge. You just have to register through the family health team. And it's a lovely time. It's usually about a 2-hour, very gentle time in nature where we have times where we sit and stop and take in the surroundings with our senses. There's different invitations that I lead people through. Um, Wonderful experiences. Yeah, I usually start in April until November. I've had people say, "Oh, why aren't you doing winter walks? I should, you know, talk the walk or something like that." But I find like it's hard enough to get people to come out even in a little bit cooler weather. So I don't know, maybe I should try it sometime because there are definitely benefits of winter walks. You don't have the problem with bugs and ticks and that kind of thing, not as much. And it is beautiful in the winter, but I haven't tried that yet. So I usually start up in April or May. But yeah, my first one is, I think, middle of April. So yeah, I would love to have people come out.
Yeah. So there's just one comment in the chat
Oh,
from someone, and it's asking, is SAD a form of depression? Can it lead to year-round depression? Then they've commented, I live with SAD and I often tell myself that it's just because of the lack of sun, but I wonder if I live with depression year-round and that it's just harder
mm,
for me to cope with it in the winter.
mm. Yeah, that's a really good question. And so it is a form of depression. It's one of the depression disorders, SAD is, but I think it absolutely can, especially if it's not being treated, then it can, I imagine, trigger a year-round depression, right? And so something to talk with your doctor about, maybe start looking into counseling, medication, or starting with exercise if you can, to force yourself to get out. But yeah, it sounds like that person's noticing that it's winter, it gets worse, right? That it worsens in winter. And that can definitely be common for someone with depression year round, that it worsens in the darker months. There was something else they said that I wanted to comment on. You didn't quite do.
The first one was, can it lead to year-round depression? I live with SAD and I often tell myself that it's just because of the lack of sun.
Oh yes, that's what I wanted to talk about. Like sometimes we almost like diminish what we're going through, like, oh, so there's kind of two sides of this coin. Some people go, oh, you know what, everyone feels this way, the winter blues, everyone has this, and it almost ends up like blaming yourself, like, I just have to get over it, right? Or just muscle through, everyone feels this way. That can lead to blame. Or the idea, it can go to the other side of the spectrum and say, you know what, everyone else seems to be handling this fine, like isn't having what I'm having. So again, I just have to deal with this. And again, I would like kind of push for that. It's time for increasing like acceptance and compassion for what you're going through. And not to minimize it. I guess it can be, sometimes we can minimize this one, especially like when it's related to seasons. And I just wondered with that comment of it's just related to a lack of sunlight, almost like it doesn't count, or it sounds a little bit like minimizing. Instead, I would say, it is a very difficult thing, right? Give yourself that acceptance that this is a real thing and that it's difficult, and how can I best help myself? Yeah. I think, yeah, there's different things we can call it that almost minimize it, right? Like winter, oh, this is just the winter blues, or, um, which, I mean, it's okay. You can call it whatever that, as long as it doesn't stop you from treating it with different things in a more serious way, right?
So the same person just said, you're totally right. I tend to minimize it. So thanks for the reminder to be gentle.
Yes. Yeah. Good. Yeah, I know that game. I know the same game, because it's the same game my brain would get up to, right? Of like, oh, come on, get over this. There's so many ways that our brains are just kind of little monsters in our lives, right? Of minimizing it or saying, come on, back up. What's wrong with you? And it's like, no, 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 no. Don't let the brain take over in that way. And yeah, such a good way at what you said, to be gentle with yourself and that it's a real thing. And so many of us have it. And, to start with increasing the light wherever you can, right?
So all
And
good
not wait
points.
until you feel like it. That's the
Yes.
hard piece. Like, no one likes that advice. I don't like that advice, right? But I'm giving it to people all the time, and I'm giving it to myself, of like, you can't wait until you're motivated. Like some people think, well, I'm just not, or I hear from people, I'm not motivated to get outside in the morning. Well, yeah, neither am I. No one is, like, or hardly anyone is, right? You don't wait. It's like putting the cart in front of the horse, thinking, well, first I have to feel motivated, then
Yeah.
I'll do the thing. No, 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 no. Unfortunately, it's the other way around. You have to do the thing even while feeling completely not motivated, completely not wanting to do it. You still have to do it. And so I've been mentioning getting outside and exercise, but I would also really push for socializing, like with people that you love or that you like sometimes with depression, we start doing avoidance techniques, avoiding, and that can be with anxiety too. So, oh, I just feel like going to bed, I'm going to go to bed. I feel like turning off my phone or not responding to an invitation, whatever it might be, and you start isolating yourself more and more. That's a real common kind of action that you start taking with depression and anxiety. And you really have to fight that and push yourself to call that friend, make that plan, show up at the thing in person if you can, even when you're not feeling like it, because that's the other thing. We're wired for social connection. And this time of COVID has been so hard on us in that regard. So, in a way, don't let yourself be alone too much, alone with your brain. I say, don't give your brain too much alone time with you to feed you more often lies, or negative rumination is often lies, right? So it's best to reach out, be with people, even when you don't feel like it. I'm sounding like a broken record here.
So somebody just joined us and they said they're sorry that they had to be late, but so we did record the session, and we'll just see where we can. I'll find out from Melissa if we can post it on our YouTube channel for a month or so, and then you can see it from there. Or if Melissa wants to post it somewhere, so we can talk about that and then go from there.
That sounds great.
Yeah, glad everyone could join us tonight. Any final questions or comments? I think we're good. Thanks again, Melissa, for
thank you so much, Annie.
Yeah, I think it was great. Some great information. I think everyone will take away.
Yeah, great. And did you get that title of this workbook?
I did, and
okay.
I couldn't check because I didn't want to cut out the Zoom video, but I will look and see if we have it. If not, I will ask them to buy the Winter Blues Survival Guide. We may have it. But we're also online with 8 other libraries, so I'm sure one of them has it, so we can order it for anybody that's wanting it.
It's really good. I like this. The workbook's really good because it sort of leads you through in a step-by-step way too of how to notice your pattern more and more, and how to start putting the things in place. They go over what might get in the way of some of those actions that you want to put in place. So it would help it to individualize it for people, I think. But yeah, it's a good one. The author's Rosenthal is the last name there, but yeah.
I'll just type it in the chat here.
Good.
You said
Rosenthal and Benton are the last names of the writers.
I'm spelling it right, but Benton, B-E-N-T-O-N.
That's right. Yep.
I will check that out, and I have everybody that's registered. I have their emails, so I can email you the link if we have it. If not, the link from outside our library, and I will try and order a copy for us to have here.
Sounds good. I hope to see anyone out on a forest therapy walk as well. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, so you can check our program guide for April, I think the first one, and then you'll just call and register with Melissa. So thanks again, everyone, for coming tonight. And thanks again, Melissa, for doing this for us.
You are welcome.
This was fantastic. Sorry. Yeah. So everybody.
Good.
Okay.
Awesome.
So everybody,
thanks so much,
safe.
guys.
Have a great evening, everyone.